Welcome to Under the Hood, from Beyond the Bottom Line. This is where we step inside the company and talk through the real experiences behind the work. In this episode, Miguel and Ashton discuss how they think about sales today, focusing on fit, trust, and sometimes knowing when to walk away. Here's Miguel.
Hi, thank you for joining this episode. I'm Miguel, your host. And today we are joined by Ashton Shumna, our Director of Client Experience. On this mini episode, we are going to cover what's important when it comes to sales, a topic that is going to get a lot of engagement because nobody likes being sold to, but everyone needs to sell in order to grow their business. With that, Ashton, happy to have you on. Let's kick it off. How do you sell?
How do I sell? That's changed year after year. That's changed situation after situation. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's really just having a honest conversation with someone. It's no longer, hey, let me sell you this because this is my product, this is my service, and it's the best, you should do it. It's taking a different view. Hey, are we the right fit for you? Yeah, we're not the right fit for everyone. You might not be the right client for us. We might not be the right firm for you. Let's together go through this journey of finding out, are we the right fit for each other? It's no longer back in the days where we were scratching and clawing for everyone that we could get just because we needed income, we needed to make payroll. Now it's like, hey, we want just the right clients, and we want clients that we know that we can give value to. And that's how my sales changed over the years, for sure, is just making sure that it's a collaborative effort to see if we are the right fit for each other.
Yeah, that's very good. Let's give you kind of like a scenario here that you are jumped on a sales call. You didn't do any prep. Maybe you know the company that they're at. Where do you start? What's your opening question to give yourself some space to find out the right things?
I would just start building rapport and talking to them. Hey, where are you dialing in from? And then while we're talking out in the background, be looking at their LinkedIn. I mean, honestly, that's always how I start calls. Like I want to talk to the person, see who they are, see what they're like. If they're really just short and curt and don't want to talk at all, now I know how I run this call. Okay, cool. We're not going to chat at all. We're just going to get straight down to it. Here's our pricing. But, if it's someone who really, really enjoys talking, now I know it gives me the space that throughout the call, I can throw in little personal bits here. I can throw in personal questions. I can throw in things like that. When someone says, oh, I have a daughter. Okay, great. How old is she? If the guy who doesn't want to talk at all says, yeah, I have a daughter, I'm like, cool. So taxes.
The number of times I was sharing earlier, I join sales calls maybe 1 or 2 minutes late and you're always on. If you're not on, and I'm joining 2 minutes late, like something's completely wrong. Like I'm terrified. I don't know what to do. But usually when I join, the point of that is usually when I join, we're like talking about the weather, or
I don't talk about weather, Miguel. We don't talk about weather.
Thank you. I used to hear about weather. I don't hear about it now.
Yeah, that he's no longer with the company.
Oh, that was a Jacob thing.
We're not supposed to say names.
Whatever. Jacob would always talk about the weather. Jacob, if you listen to this, you're still in sales. I hope you're not starting with the weather. But recent conversations, let's see what we were talking about. Dallas traffic, snowboarding. Last time we had a call, talking about too much powder, which I didn't know could be an actual issue.
Try falling in 9 feet of powder. It's not fun.
I don't think I could breathe in that. So no, thank you. Yeah. So I credit you kind of starting very broad, and you're right. Some people are like, dude, I'm on this call because my board needs a new advisor. And so if I'd send that to you, hey, let's just get in, like board needs us to do this. Here's the situation. Just stop talking. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to ask questions because in tax, especially our pricing, just, the strategies, everything changes depending on what business entity type you are. Do you have partners or not? Do you have employees? Do you have contractors? Things like that. So no matter what, I'm just going to say, okay, great. Well, thank you. That helps. That gives me a lot of questions. I still need to ask a couple of questions. And then I'll just get to the basic compliance questions, like what's your entity type, all that stuff that's not fun, that's not going to uncover pain points, but it guides at least what I need to know for them. And then we'll start getting into it. Really just very basic general questions. How do you handle tax? How do you handle accounting? Okay, why are we here right now at this time? What are you unhappy with your past provider?
And I think I think that question always comes up. I'm glad it does, because that uncovers the pain. I was on call yesterday. It was promise strategy. I got the Augusta rule, and I haven't gotten anything since. It's like, oh, that's what would you expect? And then so talk about retirement. So like, oh, that's really interesting. All right, well, we've got a process to get into that. So I think, without the pain, you can't really choose what you're going to talk about. And if your strategy is just to talk about everything, you're going to lose people for 80% of the time. Now, I just told you that my board wants me to have a new tax advisor. How do you open up that page?
Your board wants you to have a new tax advisor. What's important to your board?
Yeah. Why is that important? I would even say, it sounds like maybe tax shouldn't be at the top of the list of what the board's asking you. How did this come up? What happened? What is truly the most important thing for your board? And how do we help you solve for that? I mean, tax should be at the bottom of your list. No, I agree with that. Now, what about in terms of you don't just handle the sales. And I think it's important to kind of note that in our business, one of the things that we had to evolve from is clients had a relationship with you. Hey, Ashton, you sold us, you promised us the world, and then you would go away. And we kind of had to solve for that. So what do we do now, and how do we think about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've never, no matter what company I'm at, I've never liked the sales to onboarding handoff. Just things can get said differently, or things that the salesperson promised is actually not what we can deliver, or, there's limitations on the onboarding specialist because they don't have all the context and everything that we talked about. They don't know the emotional part of what's important to them. They don't know, what is their core thing that drove us to come here. So it really is like, oh, I just built all this rapport with Ashton. I trust him. He understands everything that I'm going through. And then you introduce them to someone else who has none of that context.
Yeah.
It just feels like, you're in the next line of the supply chain. So what we've done now, I would say, it's been like a year now we've been doing this, is anyone that I sell and they sign an engagement letter, I'm going to take them through onboarding. I'm going to be their account manager for the first 6 months. And it makes the onboarding calls just another, hey man, good to see you again. How's going with your son? Did you win that soccer tournament the other weekend that we talked about? It just starts it off in a really good way. And then, hey, this is, Carla, this is Mike, this is whoever, this is your tax advisor. And then they can finally have smart conversations with them instead of just, whatever. And, that way it really sets the tone. They see that I'm working with them. And I even say it during my sales calls. I'm like, look, I will be your account manager. I will be taking you through onboarding. So if this is the wrong fit, it's going to suck for both of us. I don't want to bring you on if you're the wrong fit, because then I'm going to be dealing with an unhappy person that I'm going to have to disengage, and you're going to ask for a refund. We don't want this. So it just built a lot of trust and a lot of rapport. And so far it's shown really good results.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why we really do have you focus on client experience. So the way we work, there's another client experience person at our firm that we get NPS scores. And when those scores aren't great, we're the first group that really talks about okay, what was missing? Is it us? Is it them? Sometimes we end up with some clients that are just, that's the way they handle their vendors. They're always going to say, there's never a 10 out of 10. There's always things to work on, and that's kind of, I think, a neat thing that we think about. Give me kind of your take on NPS scores and why they're important and how you should deal with them.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously they're important to know what your clients value, what the feedback is. But, we don't just ask for the score. If they give us a bad score or a good score, we typically ask, it's not a mandatory question, but why did you give us this score? We get a lot of good insights from that. But anyone that gives us a really bad score, well, we want to reach out to them and say, hey, what's going on? Where are we falling short? Where can we get better? And we've learned a lot of good feedback from that we then improve into our process. And plus, clients like feeling heard. They like knowing that their voice matters. So when I say, hey, that's a really good, actually the other day, someone messaged me something a little alarming about just a bookkeeping item. And I immediately put that on our leadership topics to discuss, which we'll discuss, next Wednesday, because it is important. It is something that we really should discuss and make better in our process, make sure it doesn't happen going forward. So all the bad feedback makes us better. Like Brian used to say, I never lose, I only learn. That's kind of the philosophy I think we take from that. And then on the flip side, when we get good scores, I'll admit I personally, we're not doing a good job of, following up with those clients, asking for referrals, asking for reviews, things like that. They're already positive on us. They gave us something good. But even asking, hey, what's going good? What do you really like about what we're doing? Because then we can just double down on that and make sure we don't lose those processes, which, we need to get better on that particular point.
No, I think we do. I actually am reminded of Brian Tracy, who's like a sales coach. He says the best marketing material comes from asking someone that just closed, like, hey, why did you go with us? It's a really powerful question. It also reinforces that whatever they say is true. So if they're like, yeah, we really wanted a tax advisor that understands our business, they've just reinforced it. They believe that. And it gives us a line that we need to make sure that we put out in our marketing materials, and we need to make sure it's part of what we tell people when they sign up. Hey, our clients really like working with us because we understand their business. And that's a big benefit of the way we work is we don't work with every industry. We work with the industries where typically there's a tax problem. So profitable industries, service industries, tech industries, where we have a strategy and a playbook for dealing with those. So it's a really good kind of reinforcing trick. The last thing I'll ask you is, what do you do when you realize we do not have the right fit, whether it's on the sales call or after you send out the proposal?
If it's after I send out the proposal, I'll retract that thing right away. I had a guy, he would have been a really big deal. It was going to be for like 5 different businesses. And just the amount of like anger that came from him because he couldn't read the engagement letter, it was just insane. And the amount of requests that he had that were outside of what we actually do, who we are, I knew this was going to be a horrible client for everyone involved. I spent an hour putting together all 5 engagement letters, customized each of them on a Friday morning. And I canceled it over the weekend because I just knew it was going to be terrible. And yeah, he was super pissed that we weren't the right fit. But I was like, look, man, I can tell just the way that things are going, you are not going to be happy working with us. Our processes just aren't a right fit for you. The way that we work, I can just tell it's not going to be a right fit. And yeah, he was pissed, but like, hey, I'd rather him be pissed one time than me having to deal with him every single week. And then all of our, team members having to deal with this angry client as well. It's just not worth it at all. It would have been an awesome commission check. And I was still a little sad about that, but it saved me hours of frustration. So, I mean,
because you would have had to be on the onboarding and in charge of his client experience for the next, the next year. So
we would have had internal Slacks going on about it all the time. There would have been emails going back and forth with growing frustration. We would have to jump on internal calls. We'd have to discuss it at the leadership level. When you take all that time into consideration and a lot of different team members' time, it's just so not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something that like I'll just call out is like having whoever does onboarding and sales, a key part of the leadership team has been very meaningful because we can push back and forth on changes we need to make and improve our processes with a really quick feedback loop. So there you have it. A masterclass in sales with Ashton, Shannon, and Ashton. Thanks for this time as always.